Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. This is Coach Sandra with another video, and today I would like to speak to you about a phenomena called the apex effect. The apex effect was coined by Roger Callahan, who created thought field therapy. And basically the apex effect is a phenomena where the client dismisses the effectiveness of the actual session that they've had with you. There's many ways that this phenomena can actually sound like, and I'm just going to give you a few of those and then maybe go off a little bit on a tangent on some other stuff related to this. So one of the ways that the apex takes effect, and I've actually experienced it many years ago, and then it happened to me not too long ago, but this time I was smart enough and wise enough to understand to not take it personal. Many years ago when I was doing Reiki for cancer patients, and I was doing a lot of volunteer work, I'm very much involved with different energy medicine. That was kind of my background for a while until I found FasterEFT. Prior to FasterEFT, I was also a EFT practitioner, so emotional freedom techniques practitioner, and I administered this kind of therapy to my clients and I offered it. And it so happened that the first time I experienced this, I was working with a client, and she, after a while, we had like a couple sessions, and she actually came in devastated. She had a really huge issue, and a couple sessions afterwards, talking to her, checking in with her in between sessions, she actually dismissed completely our sessions together. And she had thought in her mind that not only was it not a problem, she actually didn't have an issue, she didn't have a problem, but it was almost like a feeling of, on my interpretation at the moment, that she was taking for granted the therapy that we had done together. So she would dismiss it and she would say, well, it was, she's a big hiker. And she always gave credit, because that's kind of how it sounds like. People, sometimes clients may sound like they give credit to someone else or to something else rather than the effectiveness of the therapy that you've done with them. This is very normal. I don't know why this happens. I've never experienced this. I think I've always had, and of course it's just perception, I've always had such gratitude, and I think I'm a very expressive person. So anytime somebody would help me, I'm just speaking personally, whether it was suggestion or listening to me or taking me on as a client, I always felt very grateful. And I think also because I'm a very selective person about who I allow to work with me, and or choose, even my clients. I don't just take on any client, right? I want to make sure that we're a right fit together. But it's not a perfect science, yes? So I wanted to bring this up because I know that this is in conversation with a lot of my colleagues and so forth about this. And so basically, when my client did this to me the first time, this was about 10 years ago, and I remember talking to a teacher that turned out to be a friend of mine. And I remember Barbara was telling me, this is normal. And she's the one that introduced me actually to the apex effect. I know that in EFT, they do talk about it a lot. And then Robert Gene Smith does periodically speak to this phenomenon, even in his own FasterEFT modality. So these symptoms can sound like, one, they're taking you for granted. The client is taking you as a practitioner for granted. It's like, oh no, it was, it was the music I've been playing every day, or the hiking, or, my change of attitude, or the affirmations I'm doing. So they'll either sound like they're dismissing you and dismissing the work that you've done with them, or it will sound like, I never had a problem at all. This was never a problem. I had it under control, when you as the practitioner know that is far from the truth. So consider the apex effect, or at least the way I reframed it for myself, is to first not take it personal. Many of my colleagues have said it's kind of not a very good feeling because you work really hard, you're aligned with this person, and then they just kind of dismiss you. But that's something that as a practitioner that we can tap on, right? So if we're triggered by a client, or if that kind of rhetoric comes into play, you just tap on it, right? Because it's something inside of ourselves. We're the one that is taking it personal, and we learn, right, to not take things personally. It's never really about us. It's about what that person, their process, or how they think, or whatever they're holding on to, their program. The second reframing of this is that you've done actually a very good job, because if they can't remember their problem, right, and it's resolved, or at least for the most part resolved, they've had a huge positive shift or breakthrough, then congratulate yourself, because you've done an excellent job then, because of that. The feeling of being taken for granted and sort of having your practitioner status or whatever, feeling like you're being taken for granted. Again, it's just, don't say anything, don't do anything. It's not about you. I think most people can do a decent job, a good job. It's just something that the other person, which in this case, the client, maybe that's their experience. Whatever it is, I think it's important not to really challenge that. I don't know if I have a clear answer on that part of it, but I do hear my colleagues periodically say, gosh, it was like I had to pull back, and I've done this good work with these people and I've spent hours with them, and they just turn around and sort of dismiss our sessions. So again, it's an opportunity for growth. Take a look at just like I did, take a look at what's going on inside of yourself so that you don't take that personally. We have to remember that this is not our journey. We're facilitators, we're practitioners. We're not saviors. We might be healers. We might be sharp and clever and understand how the mind works, or whatever energy medicine you're using, for example, which is totally fine and great. But again, we just need to understand that this is not our journey. We're not married to the client. And even if we were married to the client, it gives us an opportunity to then tap and understand what it is that we're holding inside of ourselves, what reference points, right? For me, I can admit that, I felt that feeling dismissed is something that did happen to me as a teenager. And so having that pattern, or at least that awareness of being dismissed, probably then creeped up during my early years of working with clients. But luckily, I'm kind of sharp, I'm kind of smart, and I was able to turn that around and reframe it and really not take it personal. And so I suggest that you do not take it personal as well. If you're a client and you're listening to this, or you're somebody who is hiring a practitioner of whatever modality, or your therapist, check in with yourself as well. Really appreciate and understand that there is a relationship that you have with that other person, whether it's just a couple sessions or a long-term relationship. I think just in general, a good dose of not taking for granted your process and the time of the practitioner, I think it is important. Of course, what I'm saying right now is just an opinion. You don't have to do that. But I do think that gratitude takes us a lot further. I think it allows us to really be able to see how the universe really is conspiring to work with us, to collaborate with us. And so when we have in our hearts and even in our minds the awareness of this gratitude, that this individual is really helping us on our path, then I think we're a lot more further than anything. And learning to express that gratitude, I think, is important. We as practitioners and teachers and healers, we too like to receive, I wouldn't say all the time compliments. I think a lot of times it's not like we're seeking compliments, but once in a while, it's really good to know, hey, this was so effective. Or, 2 months later, I just really liked this session, or so forth. Just a little bit of tidbit information there. Take what resonates, leave the rest. And that's it. I'll talk to you guys later. Take care.